Hey folks, just a little bit of a different homestead update. Right here we've got about 5 days worth of eggs we're soaking. Any that float to the top we know are no good. Just makes it easier to clean. Mama today's gonna show you how to make chicken enchiladas. So, bon appetit.
Okay, I'm making some enchilada sauce. We're going to have enchiladas for supper, and homemade sauce is so much better than that crap you buy in the cans. So in my pot I'm making a triple batch. I'll give you the measurements for a single batch. In there I've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And while that's heating, I'm going to mix up my flour mixture. And that will be for 3 tablespoons of flour. And to that I'm going to add a tablespoon of ground chili powder. Tablespoon won't fit in there. My other tablespoon. Let's. I don't think that one's any.
Oh yeah.
Let's. 1 tablespoon of chili powder. 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. It calls for a ½ teaspoon of garlic powder, but we like garlic, so I use a whole teaspoon of that. A 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano. You don't want to add this until your oil is sizzling. And a pinch of cinnamon. And now you do want a pinch of cinnamon. It adds good flavor.
Uh-huh.
And since I'm doing triple, we're going to get 3 pinches in there. And you can add a little bit of salt. I do add a little bit. Not much. You can taste it at the end and add more if you want. And I just mix those all together. And just add a pinch into your oil. If it sizzles, it's ready, and it's not sizzling yet, so it'll be a couple of minutes. So I've got my burner set on medium high here. And it just takes a little bit for the olive oil. What you want to do is you want to drop a pinch in, and it's going to sizzle if it's hot enough. And once that starts to sizzle, you just dump in your flour spice mixture and stir that around. And you want to cook it for about a minute. to cook that flour a little bit until it starts to get really fragrant, and you'll smell it. It really does not take long. And to this, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Remember, I'm tripling here, so I freeze whatever enchilada sauce we don't use. And then next time we want enchiladas, I still have some. So that should be. And stir that around. Get that all mixed in. Got tomato paste everywhere. Wouldn't be me if I wasn't making a mess. And that'll pretty much kind of come up into a ball almost in there. You want to make sure that the tomato paste is mixed in well. And to that we're going to add, it calls for 2 cups of vegetable broth. I use chicken broth. And whisk a little as you go. I never have vegetable broth, but I've always got chicken broth. I can get it in the pot without dumping it all over the stove. And you're going to cook this for probably 6 or 7 minutes at least. You're going to bring it up to a simmer. 5 to 7 minutes it says. It will thicken slightly. It will thicken more as it cools. It doesn't get thick, but it does thicken more. So we'll get that up to a simmer, and we'll simmer that for a few minutes till it thickens. And we'll pick you up there. So we're just about to a simmer here, and then you can start timing it. I'm just starting to see a few bubbles. So we'll cook it at 5, we'll check it at 5 minutes. Just stir it occasionally. Oh, and if you have leftover tomato paste, you can freeze it. Dollop it out in tablespoons and put it on wax paper or parchment paper and freeze it, and then throw it in a Ziploc bag. Or I use it often enough that I just put the whole can of what I have left in the can into a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer. And you just have to remember to pull it out a couple hours before you want to use it so that it thaws out. But I use about a half a can in this, so it usually I make the triple batch so that it gets used up quickly. Just stir it occasionally so that it's not sticking to the bottom, and let it simmer. So you'll cook it for 5-7 minutes. It will thicken just slightly. It won't be thick. It will thicken more as it sets. Then turn it off, and then you add a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Now, to be honest, I have no idea what it does, but it tastes good, so just mix that in. And then you can taste it, and if you want, you can add salt and pepper or whatever, but I like it just as it is. And as I said, it's fast, it's easy, it's cheap, and it's a heck of a lot better tasting than that stuff in the can. So this will need to cool off a little bit. I'll use some in my enchiladas, and then we'll put some over it when I bake the enchiladas. But for now, we'll just set it aside and let it cool off some. Okay, I'm going to make some enchilada filling. So there's not really a recipe for this. I just use whatever you like and what we've got on hand. So I've got some leftover cooked chicken. I've got between 2 and 3 cups of cold leftover chicken. I'm going to add some black beans, and that's a little more than a can. I would drain them and rinse them. I cooked those from dry, so we'll add those in. I'm going to add some frozen corn. I'm going to add some enchilada sauce that we made. And there's no measurements, it's just add what you like. And as you can see, that the enchilada sauce has thickened a little more. I don't know how well you can see that.
Yeah.
But it has thickened a little more as it's sat and cooled off. We'll mix that in a little bit. You can add some of the chopped green chilies if you like those. I've used kidney beans instead of black beans before, so because that's all that I had. But you can. And cheese, you can use whatever you like. Just some shredded up cheese. I've got some Mexican 4 cheese. It's cheddar, Monterey Jack, Asadero, and Queso Blanco. And you just throw in a big handful of cheese and mix it in. And I don't want to use it all because I want to put some on top when I bake them. So you just mix that in. And as I said, it's what you like. However much you got, you make it do. And that's a simple enchilada filling. And we'll start filling some tortillas. So we just take big gobs of filling and as much as you want. Just kind of roll them, fold your edges in, roll them up. And there's an enchilada. What we don't have for supper tonight, we will freeze. What I'll do is I'll put them in a pan and put a little sauce on the bottom of the pan, a little more enchilada sauce and a sprinkle of cheese. I'll cover the pan with foil and bake them between 20 and 30 minutes until they're nice and hot and bubbly.
$13 total from this batch. but we don't cook them all. We'll cook 4 or 5 for tonight's dinner, and then we'll bag the rest and freeze them.
Okay. And freeze them. And then once they're frozen, I'll put them in a Ziploc baggie. But we'll do 5 tonight between what we'll eat and what the dogs will eat. So, but yeah, I get a different amount every time, so it depends on how much you make. And if you don't want to roll them all up at once, I have frozen the filling as well. Just put it into a Ziploc baggie and freeze it, and then you'll have that thawed out, and you can roll up your enchiladas. And I'll bake them at 350. We'll get them into a baking dish and put some sauce on the bottom and sauce over the top and the rest of the cheese over them, and bake them at 350 for between 20 and 30 minutes till they're nice and hot and bubbly. If you're baking them from frozen, of course they'll take a little longer.
Putting the enchilada sauce down in the pan.
Yep, throw the enchilada sauce in and just lay them seam side down. And I can fit 5 in there nicely without overcrowding, and just a little enchilada sauce over the top. Keep them from drying out. Once I put the cheese on, I'll put some foil over this, and they're just ready to go in the oven. And the rest of my sauce is cool here. We'll throw that into a baggie and freeze it. They're just, you can customize them however what you like. Just you use ingredients that you have and that you like. Very easy. Nice supper. And they're ready to go.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like after 30 minutes in the oven.
And it is good.
Yummy yummies.